A home invasion movie with aliens? Let's talk about that. Hey everyone, welcome to Mr. Teach Film Preach. Comment down below, what did you think of the film No One Will Save You? Were you a fan of this sci-fi thriller home invasion with a twist film? Or were you like, I didn't really get it, no. What is your favorite alien or your favorite home invasion films out there? I would love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you so much for doing that. Today we're talking about the 2023 horror sci-fi home invasion film, No One Will Save You. A reclusive, exiled, and anxiety-ridden homebody must battle an alien who has broken into her home invasion style. Written and directed by Brian Duffield, who had also written other films like The Babysitter, Underwater, Love and Monsters, and Spontaneous, which he also directed. I had no idea this movie was coming out. I had never really heard anything about it. So I avoided trailers. I never saw trailers for this film. I went in totally blank. And I'm glad I did, because this movie was a thrill ride.
Arms and legs at all times.
I was so impressed with how this movie kept me guessing. I didn't know what was going on for a lot of the film. At the core, it's a home invasion film with a woman who has some tragedy or trauma from her past that comes up, but not done in a cliche way. Like so much horror films nowadays, this elevated horror, everyone's got to have these tragic backstories and stuff. I didn't feel like that with this film. It really tied in nicely overall with the themes of the movie, with what they're trying to say, the writing, and even just the story itself of aliens coming into this girl's house. This movie takes you on an adventure. It really takes place over like a day or two. You really follow this character, Bryn. You're right there next to her in the driver's seat as she is unfolding this story and what's happening with her in this town and with this alien and this home invasion thing. And that's just the jumping off point of this movie. Crazy premise, but it's so well executed. And that's the next thing, is that the directing in this film, I think this is Brian Duffield's best film out of the two, like this or Spontaneous. I would rewatch this film absolutely over the other one.
Unfortunately, in every contest, there must be a loser.
This is so well executed. It's thought out. It's thematically strong. It has a lot of things it's trying to say while still being entertaining and fresh. Taking a genre like a home invasion and aliens and sci-fi and mixing them together, and then having a really interesting story, a great character at the center of it. I love this character, Bryn. I thought it is such an interesting character. She is so layered, I guess is the word. I don't want to spoil anything too much, but very layered character. Excellent execution behind the scenes with the directing and the writing, but with the character of Bryn and the amazing performance at the center of this film by Kaitlyn Dever, who is phenomenal. Maybe one of the best performances I've seen her in thus far. I couldn't believe how well she held the screen with just her facial expressions, her emotions, and her physical performance. She didn't need any words in this movie. She doesn't talk, she doesn't say anything. She makes a little gasp here and there, and that's about it. And a very physical role.
Let's get physical.
This would be like the serious version of Jim Carrey's comedic performance, where it's very physical. If you didn't have anything to say, you could really still laugh at Jim Carrey just by his facial expressions and the way he moves and carries himself on screen. Kaitlyn Dever in this movie is like the horror thriller sci-fi version of that. Her physical performance is amazing and her emotional performance is astonishing, and I just connected with this character and I didn't need to hear her talk at all. That is amazing filmmaking. That is amazing acting. Like, I think this is one of my favorite performances of the year thus far. Either that's awesome or I'm just the craziest person ever. Maybe a little bit of both.
You know nuts. He's crazy.
Practical special effects that they had in this film, and they didn't just use CGI all the time. Don't get me wrong, there's specific moments where they have CGI, and there is, you know, stuff with the aliens, but when like the house is being invaded and doors are opening and lights are turning on and stuff like that, could have all been very cheaply done. And no, they opted out and they did a lot of this movie practically, and thank you. Like, good, do that. Like, more directors and studio execs need to push that instead of this CGI shit, excuse my language, just do it practically. For the love of God, it looks so much better. The cinematography in this movie is one of my favorites of the year. The way that the camera moves throughout this house when the home invasion is starting, underneath the bed, and it like pans up, and just the cool movement and shots that they're able to obtain in this film was breathtaking at times. The different tones and lighting and color schemes in this movie were amazing, and the style I thought was just so poignant and different and off-putting and a little bit scary but intriguing, and brought so much curiosity to the film itself. Great cinematography in this movie. About 10 minutes in, just it goes, like the home invasion starts and it never lets up. It just continues throughout this great runtime of an hour and 30 minutes, like a perfect time for this movie. So appreciate hour-and-a-half films now, more than I ever have in my life. Really appreciate these films that are just clean and concise and to the point, and it just goes. Now, this is a horror movie, but I wouldn't say it's got the craziest amount of horror in this film. It's much more like a thriller and suspenseful and frightening. It's not like full-out scary horror film where there's a whole bunch of jump scares and you're like, ah! But there are a few moments where you're going, holy, this is nuts. This is nuts! It's super entertaining, it's got a really cool tone, and it switches enough that it keeps you guessing. I loved the thrill ride adventureness of this movie. Quite the impressive and risky ending. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it is definitely a shocking ending, and one that I could see people being polarized about. Like, some people might absolutely just hate this movie because of it. I actually went the opposite direction. I thought it was beautiful and brilliant and haunting and enticing all at once. The third act worked extremely well, even if it was a bit confusing and it took some time to digest it. But there's two things about this movie that kind of hold back its grade just a little bit. And the first one is the design of the aliens. I have to say, we've seen these before. It's nothing new in that way. I just thought it could have been a little bit more creative with its aliens, especially when it's such a big focus and focal point of the film. You see these aliens up close, like very much close-ups and in very bright light at times. So you see them clear as day, and I just didn't think they were rendered well or like executed the greatest. Ouch, people! When the camera didn't show the alien, especially in that first home invasion scene where you see it like in the background or you see just quick flashes of it, that is the best part. I think back to like watching Jaws for the first time. You don't see Jaws until, I don't know, halfway through the film at least, just teasing it. They don't actually full-blown show it on screen. In this movie, I feel like they revealed the alien look a little too quickly, and the design of the aliens, it was a little bit of like saucer men from Mars, you know, like when you think of Alien, that image is what is in this film. Like that stereotypical, that's what is in this movie. And
you're basic.
Other than that, I have to say, I had an incredible time watching this movie. I had so much fun. It was haunting and thrilling, enticing, great performances, awesome directing, very well written. Loved the cinematography and the look and the tone of the film. The pacing and the runtime was perfect. Really surprised. This is one of those movies that you don't really hear anything about and you watch it and you're like, why isn't everyone watching this? So I hope people go and check out this film because it's worth it. It's on Hulu and Disney Plus. And I'm gonna say it right now. This movie is a potential for going onto my list of the top 10 films of 2023. That's how much I enjoyed this movie. So overall, I'm gonna go ahead and give No One Will Save You an A-. Thank you so much for checking out Mr. Teach Film Preach. Come back and check out some other videos like The Creator, Saw 10, and A Haunting in Venice. Have a great day, everyone. Stay focused, stay awesome, and as always, let's get taught.